Oh, to sit like this? Or what's up, everybody? And welcome to another episode of The Unusual Suspects. What number is this, Humberto? 48. Episode 48.
How is that possible? Didn't we just do episode 74?
We're 70.
So it should be 75.
76.
My notes say 75.
Whatever, we're here.
In honor of football
guys, we're
season.
here.
It's 48, guys.
Yeah, we're live. It's early.
1948.
It's NFL preseason. 38, 75, 76. Hut, hut.
Thank you guys for joining us. Guys, I'm going to go around real quick before we get into the stories and introduce all the unusuals who have been here before. Obviously, you have Rob Gargiulo over here. We have Adam, Hot Sauce Sosnick in the house, and Tom, the biz doc, Ellsworth.
Good
guys,
morning.
we have a bunch of stuff to talk about today. As you guys know, last night was the third night of the DNC. Oprah spoke, Michelle spoke, Bernie spoke, Chris Cuomo had some interesting things to say. Did you see it?
Did he speak?
Not speak, but he was in the audience talking crap about everybody.
He was there.
He was there.
Cuomo.
Trump was in. Where was Trump? Rob, where was
North Carolina.
North Carolina, and Trump. A lady faints and he walks away from the bulletproof glass and walks into the audience to hug her and love her. He says something about the transgenders in the military. We'll get into that. Tom's going to give us some election updates about housing, Gavin Newsom, California. George Conway made a statement about RFK and what's going to be happening on Friday. I think RFK is having an announcement, Tom?
Interesting stuff. We'll talk about it.
Okay. And then, jobs in America, searching for new jobs. I think 28% of Americans are on the hunt. And Elizabeth Warren talked about something about food prices. Tom's going to talk about that as well.
Elizabeth Warren, wrong again.
She's
How's
weird.
that?
Isn't that weird?
Odd.
That's so weird. And then 32,000 migrant children are, they lost track of them. The administration, Biden, Kamala Harris administration, and they really don't know where they are. So we're going to definitely get into all that. But before we do, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, I think 60% of our viewers, Rob, haven't subscribed to watch, which we love you guys. But if you can, please subscribe, click on the thumbs up, set the timer for whatever we're going to be on, because like today was just a last minute thing and we got on, so we'd love for you guys to join us. All right, let's get right into it. Third night of the DNC. Did you see it? Did you watch any of the videos, Tom?
No, I was watching some different fictional miniseries.
What were you watching?
So it's just like reality programming, So I thought basically, I watched Titanic. I watched things that would cheer me up compared to the DNC.
Did you watch the whole thing?
I've seen the clips. I don't have cable, so I don't know where I would actually go and actually watch this. I think everybody in this day and age gets most of their viewing from social media clips. So I was like the majority of Americans checking out just segments of the speeches and not the full speeches.
What'd you get out of, just if you had to summarize what you felt from just the scrolling with your thumb?
From the brief scrolling and brief viewing that I did, it seems like there is a load of hypocrisy at the DNC. It is an entire, don't let the rich man hold you down. Trump's a billionaire. Meanwhile, they have literal billionaires on the stage. We'll play some
All
of
right,
those
and
clips.
Adam, did you see any of it?
Yeah, I actually threw a DEI trans watch party
Really?
at my house.
Really?
It was great. It turns out I did it at my house, but they didn't even invite me.
Oh,
as
really?
A straight
So
white
Gotcha,
white
yeah.
male.
You're
Like
the
it was,
enemy.
it was weird.
You're the enemy.
But yeah, I invited all my trans friends, all my DEI friends. We all came over. You were invited.
Tom
I don't know why
didn't
you
show up.
Like, but it was great. We all put we all literally put lipstick on to symbolize how the Democratic Party is in the process of putting lipstick on a pig.
Got you.
Where they're pretending,
Yes.
they're masquerading as sort of economic populism, disguising the socialism. Don't worry about Bernie
Yeah.
AOC,
Put 'em on the side.
the billionaire. Don't
Yeah.
worry about him. So
it's
a very weird big tent party. But my trans watch party, we had a great
Awesome.
time, and then
Great.
we all switched parts and had a
Got you.
after party. But we won't go there.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
I actually thought there was a lesson for the rest of us. I did the same thing Rob did. I looked at a bunch of clips. I wanted to keep up on what the flow was in my mind, and I won't go through it. I'm fact-checking in my mind, fact-checking a little online, going, this is ridiculous, this is hypocrisy. But then I had this moment where I didn't admire it, but I respected what I saw. They have brought their tent together. Mm-hmm. Remember, they used to be orbiting moons. Here's Earth and this orbiting moon with the squad on it, and this orbiting moon with Bernie on it, and this orbiting moon with the Greens on it. And they have managed to bring everybody together, including Bernie, on stage to kind of get it together as to project an image of unity. And so I respect that they've been able to pull that off because, they're talking to their base, but they're also talking to some independent voters. And I thought they did a very reasonable job of kind of getting all the ducks in a row and get everybody in line to at least look like you're marching in the same direction.
And Little John was there, Rob. I mean, Little John loves Kamala Harris and the Democratic.
Like Lil,
L-I-L. Not
little.
to be confused, not Little.
It's interesting you brought up the squad. Is there even a squad anymore after Jamal Bowman lost and after Cori Bush lost?
There's two. Well, Ilhan Omar and AOC are the
But
last.
they were there, but they were outside protesting, burning the American flag.
Well, that may have
they
been.
should have come in.
That may have been Ilhan.
I don't know what happened.
Omar, but AOC actually spoke at I believe it was night one of the DNC.
Yeah.
So it seems like the squad is no more, and it seems like not Kamala, AOC is now moving more towards making a shift and aligning more with the Democratic Party than, like you said, this socialist outliers of the squad.
I think she's coming back once they get into legislative session next February. Once the inauguration's done, they get back into legislative session. I think the real AOC is going to come back out. But I think she's been pulled into alignment. She wasn't in the hallway with Omar with their own little microphone and talking and giving their own thing about the new Green Deal. Yeah. Remember, they would do that while Pelosi was sitting in the speaker's chair making other speeches. They were out there, whatever Pelosi, the speaker, is saying, and then they sat in Pelosi's office. Remember, they did the sit-in in her office. All of that has stopped right now. Do you think AOC's changed deep inside, Rob? Do you think she's changed?
No, I think they realize that they have a common. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So
and in this season, we're all together.
Yes. Yeah. Until November 5th. And then it's over. November 6th, back to that division.
Yeah, and so we have a couple of videos, excuse me, that we're going to play. The first ones, we have two of them, of Oprah Winfrey. She showed up at the DNC to do her thing, and Rob, what was the first one even? What was she saying?
This is the first one where she talks about the United States being more united than divided. It's very interesting, the terminology that she uses. I'll let her speak, and then we can react.
Okay, go for it.
And despite what some would have you think, we are not so different from our neighbors. When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion.
Maui.
We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No. We just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady,
interesting shot.
Look at CNN. How brutal is CNN? Look at her. She's like, wait a minute. Is the camera on me?
Childless cat lady around me?
Oh, my God.
Who, me? Yeah. We try to get that cat out, too.
Dude, whoever the camera guy is has a freaking sense of humor.
We can cut it here, but I love this where she discusses a fire when literally neighbors of her lost everything in Maui, and then she was shamed by the internet to actually contribute and start a fund. And she did. Her and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson created a fund for the people of Maui where it's like a $10 million fund, but she got shamed into doing that.
Yes.
And the people of Maui, they still haven't rebuilt. You know what they get? They get $1,200 monthly payments out of this $10 million fund. They're never going to be able to rebuild their homes. There's never. And what did Oprah do for them? $10 million when she's worth $3 billion? I can't sit here and criticize because I didn't give anything.
Yes.
But I'm also not worth a third, a tenth, a hundredth of what Oprah is worth. This woman owns over 1,000 acres of land on Maui, the island that caught on fire.
And did she buy a bunch too? Like
she bought a bunch right before.
Yes.
Right. So that's bad timing. But again, the optics of if I'm writing that speech
or good timing.
Yeah, but if I'm writing that speech for Oprah, I'm leaving that part out. I don't know how that part makes it in by the speechwriter.
Or if you're her, I would have been like, oh, no. Take the burning houses part out, homeowners, because I don't want anybody to talk about it.
It's like Ted Kennedy giving a speech and talking about, safe driving, right? If the designated drivers. And I think people in America should have designated drivers.
Yeah, like, who puts,
said
like,
the
who
man who drove off a bridge and killed Mary Jo Kopechne.
Yeah, she doesn't really have much reason to pander to Hawaii, because Hawaii, when's the last time they voted Republican? Never. So unless there's people in Hawaii demanding whatever their demands are, it's all who cares? Like, she's out there. They bring her out there because she's arguably the biggest media personality of all time, if not in the top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And she's doing the female black empowerment thing. And that is going to be the difference in this election. We can do all the Maui Fires, conspiracy stuff we want. But the reality is this election has now tipped, shockingly enough, in Kamala's favor. If you check out the general election polls, I'm sure Tom's got a lot of stats and polls that we can read, but she's just evidence of the type of person that's going to rev up the base, and it's working.
But based on what? What is that shift in this election?
It's all about how you feel, man.
So it's
As
not
you know,
based
so
on
it's like-
policy at all.
Is
This
it ever?
identity. It's
Is it ever?
I mean, with Trump, it was identity. Hold on. That's identity politics, which the left loves to do. Trump was, his personality is crazy, he's yelling, but it was policies. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I haven't heard one policy besides Kamala basically stealing Trump's, no tax on tips. What are you actually running on?
The $25,000 first-time home buyers credit that she promised but hasn't explained where that money's going to come from. And then also they're going to build 3 million new homes. But again, she just says these things, but does she actually have a plan for any of this?
I fully agree with you that if you actually look at the actual policies that Kamala, who speaks very rarely, has presented, it just screams socialism, but masquerading as we're here for you guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of people fell for that in 2016 with Bernie. They're like, oh, this guy's making a lot of sense. It's like when you do the math, the shit don't add up.
Yeah.
That's what this is. They're putting lipstick on a pig. They're masquerading as economic populism. We're here to help you. But as Ronald Reagan said, in 1980, the scariest words you could ever hear is I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. They're championing big government. They're championing less taxes for the middle class. It economically, policy-wise, it makes no sense. But if we know anything about the Democratic Party and about them making dollars and about making sense, it's all about how you feel. And they do a better job of that.
Oh, big time.
Of the marketing than Republicans.
Yeah, but what does that say about the Democratic voters in the sense that
they're dumber, Vinny?
Yeah, no, but think about this. For the past 4 years, why didn't any of them do it? Like, as a voter, how dumb do you have to
Vinny,
be?
You're way too worried about facts and data.
I'm just saying,
You
though, but as a
gotta
voter,
go with how you feel.
As a voter, hold on. Just even if you're a Democrat voter and you're feeling the pinch right now, like when you saw Don Lemon going around Atlantic City going, hey, your life is better now, right? And the guy's like, no, actually, I'm making way less money. He's like, nah, you're lying. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You would think the actual voter wouldn't get duped into going, wow, look, Oprah Winfrey's on stage. I'm going to vote for them, even though for the past 4 years, nothing has been happening positive.
Just
nothing.
the price on groceries alone should make any person that... What's very odd to me is that they look past that.
Yes.
They go, I can see the negative effect of this administration on my bank account, but Chelsea Handler told me to vote for Kamala Harris, and I'm going to do it. She's not evil like Donald Trump, and that's what they cast their vote on, rather than the actual impact that this administration has had on their lives for the past 3 years. And then the argument becomes, well, you can't blame Kamala Harris. She's only the vice president. Well, what vice president has ever accomplished anything in the history of vice presidents? Well, if that's going to be your argument, that Kamala Harris as a vice president hasn't accomplished anything because no vice president has ever accomplished anything in the history of the vice presidency, then what experience does Kamala have to be the holder of the highest office in the world?
So you're going to vote for the
United
nice
States.
lady without a resume.
That's
okay.
There's the resume. Ta-da!
I mean, you can put on that resume, District Attorney of San Francisco.
But Adam makes. I mean, you make a valid. I mean, we're joking, but great point. It's like they don't care. They don't care. Trump could go up there and talk about policy all day. People want that promising, the BSing, the celebrity status. Did they really have any real big famous names at the RNC?
But
like
Kid
Rock.
Kid Rock,
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan. But dude,
Hey, listen, brother.
Yeah, look how old they are. But dude, these guys, look, dog. They have Barack Obama. They have Michelle Obama. They got Oprah Winfrey. They have all these huge names. RNC
They had John
didn't have
Legend. They had Stevie
John
Wonder.
Legend. We're
They had
singing.
Mindy
Yes, Stevie
Kaling.
Wonder.
They-
Who did the RNC have? I'm being
They had
genuine.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's a
Oh
celebrity.
yeah, that's all.
there you go.
Guess what? The election's over.
Yeah, look, I actually had dinner with a bunch of my buddies Tuesday night down here in Miami. And these were all guys that are very successful, grew up in Miami, lawyers, doctors,
Yeah.
you know, like they're doing their thing. And they were kind of where I was at politically. They, you know, voted for Obama. Wasn't really feeling the Trump thing in 2016. A lot of them were never Trumpers. 2020 came around. I mean, I told everybody, I'm like, dude, nobody wants Trump. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And now, you know, I haven't really seen a lot of them in the last few years because obviously we've been doing our valuetainment thing.
Yeah.
And here's what's interesting. There's people on the right that see me and they're like, you're a socialist, woke, liberal, gay Jew. I'm like, okay, you got it, buddy.
Yeah.
And then my friends, actual people that know me, they're like, I don't even recognize you anymore, bro.
Really?
You're just MAGA'd out, aren't you? Were you at January 6th? I was like, yeah, dude. Like,
Okay.
But the reality is I'm a registered independent.
Yeah.
I'm that guy that's like, yeah, policies, like I get it, I hear you here.
Yeah.
But none of them
None of them
are voting for Trump.
That's insane.
And I'm like, guys, and I'm the outcast in this crew. I'm the like how you are on PBD, the right way, whatever. That's who I am in my crew.
Yeah.
So if you're getting shit from the right and you're getting shit from the left, you're probably doing something right. But at the end of the day, here's what I've learned. As long as Trump is the nominee,
Yeah.
he's such a polarizing figure. And it's so hard for anyone to look past that. So I'll ask somebody this question. And this guy happened to be Jewish. You know, let's not come at him. I said, who would you vote for? Donald Trump for president, hypothetical,
Okay.
or Rashida Tlaib?
What do
And she is the Palestinian,
Yeah.
basically anti-Jewish congresswoman. And this guy's Jewish. They all aren't Jewish. And he goes, that's a tough one.
Are you
dude."
serious?
I'm like, are you fucking kidding
Are
me?
you serious?
I go, what's even happening here?
Yeah.
Because that's how polarizing Donald Trump is that they would still vote for somebody who, for all intents and purposes, probably their policies match way more aligned with Donald
they're going
Trump.
personality.
But they're willing
Yep.
to go to whatever lengths not to vote. That's what's happening here. And me, I'm like, dude, I'm like, it's pretty clear. I'm voting for Trump.
Yeah.
They're like, how dare you?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Who are
you've
you?
lost your mind.
Yeah, for sure.
What's interesting is Trump
Derangement syndrome still exists.
but
That's all I'm
Trump
saying.
has calmed that narrative down, and his rhetoric, he's not the guy that's on Twitter every single day. If he is posting, it's on Truth Social and to what? The echo chamber of his base. What's interesting is the DNC has now shifted, right? If you watch these speeches, and again, I've not watched the entirety of the speeches. I've watched clips of the speeches.
Yeah.
But realistically, some of these speeches are 15 minutes long. I guarantee you, 8 minutes of them, it's just clapping.
Of course.
Them
For what now?
standing up and just basking in
For
their
Trump?
own self-righteousness of
Rob,
glory.
you're absolutely right. But you're missing one thing. They don't need to hear another speech from Trump.
They're voting for him regardless.
They've known Trump for 40 years, and then he's been magnified for the last 10. They don't need to hear another speech to be like, well, let's hear this one. They've already made up their mind, bro.
I get it. What my point is that what the DNC has done is they flipped. They went from, he attacks people. He's bad because he said Rosie O'Donnell had a big head, which she kind of does. It's large, but that's
He said
fine.
a lot worse than that.
Yes, he's okay.
Which I agree with. She's a
Now
slob.
you've noticed Trump he's pulled back and reined in on the personal attacks. He's not out there taking shots at Kamala. Maybe he'll mispronounce her name.
Once in a while, but Adam, nowhere near what he was.
Nowhere
when
near what he did with
started.
Hillary, what he has done with Joe
Jeb
Biden.
Bush.
But if you watch the DNC and you watch these speeches, it's multiple people taking shots at Trump and his personality.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting that the party that for the past 8 years has told you he's a bad person because he name calls is now the party that's name calling, and they're heroes for doing it.
Do you want to know why, though?
Why?
They're playing with house money at this point, bro, the Democrats. 30 days ago, 60 days ago, when was the Trump
Assassination?
Biden? Trump Biden debate. That was end of June.
2 months.
45 days ago, they all looked at each other like, dude, this ship is sinking.
Yes.
Abandoned ship. Van Jones is crying. Obama doesn't know what's going on. Nancy
Pelosi's getting hammered.
Nancy, they're like, holy shit.
Jones
And what
crying.
happens is they're like, I don't know, bro. What are we going to do? Is it fucking Kamala? Is it Gretchen Whitmer? Is it fat JB Pritzker? What are we going to do? We're going to get gay Pete Buttigieg? Like, what are we going to do? And they're just like, I guess it's Kamala.
Oh, they have
And
to.
this whole, let's see how Kamala works. And it's working.
Yep.
And they're like, listen, tell this chick not to open her mouth.
Yeah. And every
We're
time
just
she
gonna
does,
have-
every time she does,
Yeah.
it kind of dips.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Don't say anything.
And we have the second.
And they're now just like, holy shit, it's working.
Yeah.
Holy shit, it's working.
So don't ruin don't
like,
ruin it.
Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, and then so
look at the polls. And last point. So now they're like, oh my God, like, all right, let's like imagine two fighters. They're in the ring, they're fighting. And dude, Democrat just got knocked out. And all of a sudden, they get this second chance of life and they hit Trump. And he's like, whoa. And what the reality is, Trump was so focused on Sleepy Joe, Hunter Biden criminal, everything, all the attack, everything, Ukraine. They can't use any of that attack lines now. So now he's like, you notice the black journalism thing? That failed miserably. You know that. Mm-hmm. Sitting there amongst thousands of black people, he attacks a black woman. So now he's like, dude, what do I do? Do I attack her as a woman? Can't do that. I'm gonna lose a woman. Do I attack her as a black woman? Can't do that. So the only thing he can do now is attack her record, which is horrible.
Yeah.
But that's not a position that plays to Trump's strengths.
Yeah.
Because if we say anything about Trump, his strength is you're fat, you're stupid, you're lazy. He can't really go there on Kamala because it's woman shaming.
With Joe, he did hardcore, the border, the economy. Now that's 100%. Gone. Because now it's like people are saying, you know what? She's the vice president. What could the vice president do? I'm going to play this clip. This is the second clip of Oprah. She's claiming that she was a victim of racism, sexism, and income equality and division.
That is my favorite, income equality.
Income equality. Meanwhile, she's worth almost $3 billion, like Rob said. Can we please play this clip?
Mm-hmm. From the redwood forest, love those redwoods, to the Gulf Stream waters, I've seen racism and sexism and income inequality and division. I've not only seen it, at times I've been on the receiving end of it.
Like,
it's true.
Yeah, I don't.
It's true. Probably 40 years ago.
Yeah, but guess what? She just wants to keep reminding you because that's how they roll. Tom, what do you think?
Well, I think when she says income equality, there was a time where there was a lot of discussion on what she was paid for her role in A Color Purple and what a male actor that had a similar role of similar level in the film was paid, and the male actor was paid more. So I'm sure she's talking about Hollywood and the income equality so she can play that card.
In 1980.
Yeah.
Right.
She got paid $35,000 for The Color of Purple.
What year was that, literally? 84?
I have to look.
1985.
But
oh, my God. Right. So literally 40 years ago.
Right, but it is. But guess what? There was a time when I experienced it. So she can say that as a true statement. Yeah. I think what you don't seem to understand, and I see many of us don't seem to understand it, but I've been diving back into this. And think of this. Your temperature is 98.6 most every day. The day your temperature is 100, that's not that much more. You feel hot. Mm-hmm. You feel like you may have a fever. You feel uncomfortable. That's kind of where the economy is now. As bad as the economy is now, some of the people in America are feeling it like 102 fever. It's not the economy and what's happening in America is bad. It's that it's not bad enough. Mm-hmm. I don't want it to be worse, but it has to cross over a next level. And that's where historically where voters have crossed over from personalities and actually voted for people that they thought were going to make it better. Remember, history will show you that human nature is unchanged. It's just different era, different technology, different medicine. But basically, our human core is very similar. The people of Italy elected Mussolini because the economy was so bad and things were so bad that, among other things, he merely promised that the trains would run on time so you could depend on them to get to work or go someplace. Yeah. And that's how bad it was that they elected Benito Mussolini. Now they got over it some years later and slit his throat in the city square and hung him upside down. Yeah. So, they, but Gavin Newsom, by the way, that was called a recall. So it's, but it was a little more intense back then. But right now, as bad as it is America, as much as consumers are hurting, as much as you've got single moms and people that are truly looking at their credit card debt that has now been buying electricity and gasoline and groceries, it hasn't gotten bad enough that the core voter has said, wait a minute. wait a minute, it's not bad enough. And I look at these statistics and it kind of scares me that as bad as it is right now, nobody is sitting back and getting past their own little Trump derangement syndrome. And I don't know your four friends, but I think that's what you're talking about is like, guys, you can't objectively just look around society and you can't get past Trump enough to vote for the person you're going to think is good. Yep. And they're like, no, Adam, we're with Kamala. And that's the part that bothers me is Americans are not thinking deeply enough about their fellow Americans, right? The only thing I've ever agreed with on an Obama speech is the first line, my fellow Americans. At that point, I'm in agreement with them. It goes downhill from there. Yeah. You look at it, and I just wonder, where's the American voter saying, my fellow Americans? Where are the wealthy, people that are looking around and thinking about it as my fellow Americans? Yeah. Where are we? Why aren't we voting? You're not voting for a president. You're also voting for your neighbors. Yeah, and by the way, you brought up Obama.
I actually think that's a great point. Yeah. In theory, Tom, the golden rule, do unto others as you want them to do. I agree with you in theory. But in practice, I don't think anybody's going into a voting booth and being like, but my neighbors. So in theory, it's a great way to do it. But in practice, I think people vote out of self-interest, how they feel, and how they feel matters. Yeah. And
feelings.
The economy, you're spot on with, it's bad, but it's not bad enough to be like, I'm out. Because we've seen that multiple times, the 2001 bubble, the tech bubble, it was enough to get Clinton out, essentially, and Gore out, and Bush in. In 2008, we know that the worst economic recession we've seen in the last, in our lifetime, basically. It was enough for basically Bush, dude, get out of here. McCain had no chance. Cool guy Barack shows up, boom. And then it was enough of a bad situation in 2020 to get Trump out. So I fully agree with you. When the economy is that bad, people are looking to literally make a change and make some change and then put them change in their pockets. I think the economy's bad. It's also lipstick on a pig type situation. Inflation is not great, but compared to other countries around the world, it's actually doing very well. So if it was worse, I agree with you, change. But if it stays like this, it's not bad. So bad that people are like, dude, I can't even survive. Yeah. So
you brought up I versus we. And the historical surveys will show you that there was very much of a we in the 1950s, and there was very much a we in the middle 70s in America. What do we do for the country? And when people voted, I think now I think you're right. We are more self-interested and selfish today when we vote. And you can go back times in history where we did go into the voting booth as an American country and say, what's better for the country, right? And Reagan asked a question. He said, are you better off than you are 4 years ago? If you're not, may I ask for your vote?
Yes.
And he wrapped that around America needs to be a shining city on a hill. So it was, we need to be better, and are you better off in that? And so there were times in history where Americans have, in fact, had we right next to I when they voted. I think today, you're right. There's a lot of I. Well, that's right. Great point. And if you want to juxtapose two completely polarizing ideologies, if you want to go back a little bit further, JFK, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. That narrative, to literally selfie culture, the root word of selfie is self, your obsession with self or being selfish. Social media, selfie culture is completely antithetical to how our country was founded and basically the principles of our country that JFK sort of ran on. But that gives you a little context of where we are today. You're right. And we could jump down the rabbit hole, which we're not going to do, about what social media has done to the psyche of our high schoolers.
Oh, forget it.
And not to mention TikTok.
Yeah, and by the way, and then you brought up Barack, Tom. This is a clip of Michelle that's saying that her parents were suspicious of people who took more than they need, and we already know how many houses. Play the clip, and then we'll get into it.
That anyone can succeed if given the opportunity. She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of
folks
that guy? Who took more than they needed. They understood that it wasn't enough for their kids to thrive if everyone else around us was drowning. So my mother volunteered at the local school. She always looked out for the other kids on the block.
Tom, you see that?
It's the whole notion of they took more than they need.
Yes.
There is a feeling on the DNC, this is part of the hypocrisy, that somehow if you have more, you took it.
Yes.
It's not that you earned it and built a family business that employed your family and your family did well, or you built that into a mid-sized business that was inherited, that Tom and Sons Plumber was soon run by Tom Sons, and that they did well and they were able to elevate their standard of living by earning it. And if you really got lucky and you built an amazing company, bought from somebody else, that you built generation wealth, you earned it. And there has been a thread in the DNC that is just ripping out the foundation of something in America, of the freedom to try and the freedom to fail, and the concept that you took more than you deserve rather than you earned it. And that's a thread that I think people need to be carefully look at, because I don't think that anything that Kamala's talking about is her down the road to socialism. I think she has sped past socialism, and she is on the expressway to communism.
Damn right. And then what clip is this, Robbie, of Bernie?
So this is, I believe, night 2. This is my favorite so far.
All right.
They have Bernie Sanders go up, and he talks about billionaires getting richer and how that should not happen.
Yeah.
And then the next speaker is Governor of Illinois, J.D. Pritzker, a billionaire who brags about being a billionaire. Play the clip.
Okay.
We need an economy that works for all of us, not just the billionaire class.
How did they become billionaires, Bernie?
My fellow Americans, when 60% of our people lie,
You can go to the next clip.
So this is so that was him complaining
About, yes, the economy working for everyone, and here is literally a billionaire speaking right after him, bragging about being a billionaire.
Shameless billionaire.
thinks that we should trust him on the economy because he claims to be very rich. But take it from an actual billionaire. Thinks that we should.
So 5 minutes ago, they're booing billionaires, and that guy goes up and he criticizes Trump and goes, don't take his word for being a billionaire.
Take it from me.
Yes, yes. I know that Trump got money from his father and then created a vast network of wealth, but what did J.B. Pritzker do? To create his wealth, he inherited the Pritzker
the Pritzker
fortune.
family is what, Hyatt Hotels?
Yes,
Yeah.
the net worth of that family is incredible. Now he's done his own stuff in politics, but you don't become billionaires in politics unless
You
you're
know
the
who
Obamas.
his sister is?
Who?
The first trans billionaire.
What?
First, put up I don't know, Connor on the mic.
But what's her
J.B. Pritzker trans billionaire family, if you could find that. I don't know if you can find that.
He has a weird sister, but the point I think Rob is making is that it's
all good,
pretty,
Connor.
This is a head-on collision of, hypocrisy and irony.
Yeah, but it's not new, bro.
Yeah, but
Who ran for president in 2020 in the Democratic Party? 2020. Michael Bloomberg, billionaire.
Billionaire.
Well, Tom Steyer, remember that guy? You probably remember him.
No, I
billionaire.
don't.
So on one hand, you have actual billionaires. Plus, where do you think the donor base
Kerry?
is coming from?
John Kerry
Yeah.
did a whistle-stop tour from
so
the
you have
deck
all
of
these
his yacht.
billionaires funding a lot of times socialist policies. That's why, they're trying to put a square peg in a round pole. This whole lipstick on a pig thing. Like, I'm not going to drop that narrative because it's true. Why? So they're getting their money from the billionaire class,
Of course.
but they're out there being like the millionaires and the billionaires. Then United Auto Worker, the guy Sean Fain. Do you remember him?
Yes.
He was a big name 6-12 months ago. He's literally been out there vocalizing the fact that I don't think billionaires should exist. He just spoke at the DNC platform. So you have this, we need you billionaires to give us the money.
Of course.
But then on this end, no, we don't need the billionaires. There's no better version of that than this guy, Mark Benioff, who is the CEO, founder of what company?
Salesforce.
And Slack. So here's a guy that, think about this for a second.
And bought.
Actually think about this for a second. You start a company, you begin something, you're a founder, you're grinding, you're working, it takes 20, 30 years to build up a company. Oh my God, employees, like all our fundamental people that are part of Valuetainment that'll be at the vault should understand what it's like to start a company. And then you make so much money that you're like, you know what? Socialism. I love socialism.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's very hard to grapple with this. And a lot of it is sort of like wealth apologists or like antithetical to capitalism. It's like where, I've seen someone like PBD, it's like, no, thank God for capitalism. Mm-hmm. But it's very weird to see these, as Rob poignantly pointed out, on one hand, Bernie railing against the billionaires, and the next speaker, J.B. Pritzker, goes, I'm a billionaire, unlike Trump.
Yeah.
Good luck getting your head around that. The cognitive dissonance is just appalling to me. But that's the Democratic Party.
And that's why this was refreshing. Did you see Chris Cuomo? He was out he was on the floor talking crap, and he said, he talked about Kamala's pledge after going after all these, billionaires and all these money guys, and then he clowns them because he's saying how much those people were up in the suites looking down. Can you play this, Connor?
Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? Greg, look at the ring of suites, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at $500,000.
Yep.
Damn. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Those boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate.
Yep.
They are literally looking down on the faithful and being told, we're going to break down on them. We're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500,000, $700,000, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. And the same thing is true with the Republican side. And they're going to take them down.
Yeah.
They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics.
Yeah,
that's refreshing. Tom, you see something like that? How refreshing is that?
That is beyond refreshing, because that there is what, historical reporting was about. That there, without the tonality and the personality of Chris Cuomo, that is what Cronkite would have said. Don't these people understand that the average American needs to... And Walter Cronkite would have just laid it out. There was a time, Edward R. Murrow, there was a time where newsmen would take stands there and balance what they were trying to say. News has always had its balance. Mm-hmm. There's always been the lapdogs. I mean, even back in those days, they hid the fact that... Kennedy had a back brace. He didn't want him to seem weak. So the news media has always done stuff like that. But commentary like that used to come from your news media, used to come on the opinion page of a newspaper. The opinion page of the newspaper used to be an important political endorsement. You go back and you just look in the 90s. You don't have to go back very far. And you would see it's like the Cleveland Plain Dealer has come out and endorsed who? And it was a big deal. Who is the newspaper supporting? The newspaper represents our city, our town, our community. What are they doing? That used to be important. And what you have there, I think, is a career newsman in Chris Cuomo who is looking around and calling it as he's seen it, and he has seen it evolve over years. I think that is a refreshing take.
Yeah, I look, you ever see the movie Catch Me If You Can?
Multiple times.
Okay, so who was the main character in the movie? Leonardo
Frank
DiCaprio. Frank Abagnale. So the beginning of the movie starts off that he's this criminal that basically can't get caught. Catch Me If You Can. Yeah. Tom Hanks is running around trying to catch him. The end of the movie, what's his position?
He gets caught.
No, but literally, what's his position?
Consultant.
He starts to work
for the
on
parole.
For the FBI. On parole. He works for the FBI
so
to help
what's the
them
point? Listen, we got to use this guy's wit, intelligence, experience, connivingness to our advantage. Mm-hmm. Because he knows how the system works. What's my point? Look, does anybody know how the DNC or even politics work better than Chris Cuomo? Like, there's a lot of people out there, I don't agree with them on this, but the COVID. Okay, cool. But this guy knows what he's doing.
Of course.
And he's basically saying exactly what we're saying. Yeah, they're saying one thing, but you know how much those suites are? Believe me, I know, because I've been in there.
Yeah.
That's $500,000.
That's ridiculous.
So they can say all they want. We know who's really pulling the puppet strings up here. And that's what's so refreshing about him, is he's sort of like, dude, I was a Democrat. You kicked me out. I'm definitely not on Team Trump. Yeah. So now I'm just kind of in the middle. I'm going to I'll punch any of you guys in the face.
And what's interesting about that is that the Cuomo family at one point was political royalty in the
Yes.
United States. Andrew married to a Kennedy. So, I mean, they had actually
Democratic
merged
royalty.
two Democrat. Like, so this is not a guy who's new to politics, is just becoming aware of politics. His father was in politics his entire life.
Yeah.
His entire life, he was raised in the Democratic Party. His father was the governor of New York. His brother became the governor of New York. And he has been covering media since, 2000? So he's been in this game his
24,
entire
yes.
life. And he's going, these people aren't representing you.
Yeah.
They're representing themselves.
Yeah.
For an insider to call them out like an outsider, that's what's refreshing. That's why people liked Donald Trump. That's why people like me, who have my entire life, and I apologize for this, but I voted blue. My entire life.
Oh, I'm outta here,
I
bro.
was a
That's it. I'm
Democrat,
out. That's it.
voted for Obama twice.
Come back,
I
Adam. Come
apologize.
back.
Disgusting.
Come back.
For the first time in my adult life,
I don't know. We even hired this guy.
Going
Piece of
into the
shit.
2024 presidential election, I am going to cast my first vote for a Republican, and it's because I respect Donald Trump's policies, but what I also respect is the transparency that he has brought to the Oval Office, where I feel that we have not had that since 1963.
Rob, I've lost all respect for you, and I don't even know how we even have you on this program anymore.
well,
Listen,
you're disgusting.
One quick point. Think of the guy that
Is
we
that why
talked
you
to
grew that
yesterday.
beard?
Yes.
To sort of blend in
Yes.
with the J6ers?
Yes.
Part
I
of
got
my
it. I got
I'm
it.
becoming one of you. Yesterday we spoke with Ian Carroll. He's a guy that's online. You if you saw his face and you saw
Long
you-
hair.
Yes, you'd know
Says
him right
great
away.
things about the Jews. I love him.
Well, listen, I don't condone everything he says or vouch for everything he says. What's interesting is you hear that guy talk today. He was a lifelong Democrat. This is his first presidential election where he's voting for a Republican. I feel like there's a lot more people that are like he and I who have come from the other side and seen, oh, we have just been propagandized for 20 years. Every single election that I have voted in has not been on policy. It's been on personality. And this is the first time where it's mattered more than ever before. Think of how crazy this election cycle is. We spoke yesterday. Pat interviewed Ryan Montgomery, the ethical hacker. Comes out 9 a.m. tomorrow. I encourage you to watch it. It's super interesting. In that interview, Pat says, isn't it crazy, like 2 months ago that Trump got shot? And then we looked and we're like, oh my God, that was 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And think about what happened in the past 6 weeks. Okay, you had the debate on the 27th. You had the Trump assassination on the 13th. You had Biden dropping out. You've had Kamala go in. Then you had the GOP introduce impeachment articles for Biden. This is all within 4 weeks. Tom, you've been paying attention to politics much longer. Have you ever seen an election cycle that is this chaotic and we're still 70 days out?
No, I have not seen something that's this chaotic. I think you have to go back to, 1968 and where you had, Bobby is now gone. They go into the convention. Riots are literally happening outside. The Vietnam War is not over yet. People are being drafted. African Americans and minorities were getting higher draft numbers and going first and disproportionate. So there was racism in the draft. You have to go back, I think, something there to see all the things that were happening together in dominoes. And I haven't seen, if you look back at like the points of change and the points of chaos, this last 5 weeks, I think has been more change and upheaval and shifting of gears than we've seen in 30 years.
Yep.
I mean, everything has been pretty orderly. The convention was usually where, okay, we come down, we agree to support each other. We saw a little bit of that this springtime. Okay, Nikki, so the gig's up, you're out of money, you're doing it down. Are you going to support Donald Trump? And that's what they were all asking. And that's and by the way, the Democrats fell in line faster, 4 years ago with Biden. Kamala fell in line. All the people that were venom on that stage, they fell in line, except Tulsi Gabbard turned in her Democrat card and left, right? But I haven't seen, this deep toward the election itself. You usually see this on Super Tuesday where people are still screaming at each other, waving pictures taken of you in high school wearing a stupid hat. All that stuff is usually when that happens. Not now. Now is usually a time for the family's got to come together and have a Thanksgiving. Don't pick on your sister's husband.
Yeah.
Knock it off. Let's sit down for Thanksgiving. It's very much been like all those little things that your mom and dad and your grandma remind us that we're not going to say at Thanksgiving. We're going to watch some football. We're going to have some turkey, and we're going to enjoy it as a family. When they leave on Monday, talk behind their back.
Yeah.
I also
That's
think
usually been the convention.
I also think there's sort of a reason for how Republicans operate and how Democrats operate, because I'd be willing to say that Republicans are way more principled and have more of a spine. And there's people that are going to be like, what do you mean? Trump, he's a cult of personality. Okay, but they're a little bit more of conviction, and this is how I stand for, and this is what I believe in, and they're a little bit more of ideologues. Where Democrats, there's this sort of big tent concept where they're just like, can't we all get along? Forget about the fact that you hate billionaires, and forget the fact that you are a billionaire.
Yeah.
Forget about the fact that you believe in traditional family values, and forget about that they're trying to basically tear down the nuclear family. And there's the Marxist, and there's the capital. Can't we all get along? Yeah. And there's just this greater context of like, let's just be nice to each other. Whereas in the Republican Party, they're like, yeah, I can't be nice to the baby killer, abortion. I can't be nice to the guy who wants to pretend he's a woman and go in the world. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So they do have more conviction. They do have a better sense of moral code, but that doesn't necessarily translate to winning elections.
Of course.
And that's why Democrats do better, because they're a little bit more willing to let some shit slide.
Yeah, they let it slide.
2 points. I thank you, Tom, for your insight, because you ever buy a car and then as you're driving that, not you.
Not you, Adam.
Okay, but if you ever bought a new car, and then you're driving around and you notice that you're always seeing that car. Like, oh, there goes another Tesla.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a Tesla.
Yeah.
There's a Tesla.
Yeah.
It feels to me like I had to separate, is this chaotic because I'm paying more attention now than I ever have before, or is it actual chaos? And think about this, because it does seem like it's actual chaos. Since the first debate between Trump and Biden to today, it's been 56 days. We still have 74 more days to go until the election. How chaotic is it going to get over the next? Or has the chaos passed, and now we are just in the calm of the storm before November 5th?
I got a DoorDash a big bag of CBD gummies.
I think it's going to get worse. And you made a great point, Robbie. When you went down that list, the president of the United States, the ex-president, who's the front runner, they tried to murder him. And by the grace of God, that head turned, and because mind you, he dies, Adam, he dies. No Kamala. Joe Biden's up there stuttering. They wheel him out. He does his thing. Who knows what's going to happen? And the fact that nobody's even talking about it. Trump isn't even talking about it anymore. Like yesterday when he was in South Carolina, where was he, Rob? Was it South Carolina?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Did he even mention it? Which I'm going to get into this video by him.
No, this
by the way,
is the best.
Yeah, let's show. So guys, I'm happy that this is
Before
random.
we go to this video, just think of one thing.
Yeah.
Right. Democrats tend to think Republicans are evil. Republicans just tend to think Democrats are wrong. And I'm talking about fair-minded people.
Or dumb. Or gay.
Yeah.
Or libs, or snowflakes.
And it is easy to moderate feelings and to get everybody around the table for Thanksgiving. It is nearly impossible to move convictions. Mm-hmm. And in the Republican Party, what you were talking about is convictions. People that feel convictions about right to life, people that feel convictions about any one of assortment of things. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the Democrat Party, you can get feelings to moderate for a season, and that season is election season. And so they've come across with more unity and sense of unity and almost like a singular voice than the Republicans can. The Republicans need to learn that, but you're never going to get people saying, look, you're asking me to trade my convictions for elections and I won't do it. Mm-hmm. That's what you're hearing from people on the MAGA side. We're hearing it this week.
Mm-hmm. There's also the reality that Trump might have peaked too soon. Yeah, I know you're like, it's 74 days for election. So, you're a big baseball fan, right? So I'm a big NBA fan. We've all seen the teams.
Ducking on a stage is a hell of a way to peak.
Correct. Yeah. We've all seen the teams that barely made it into the playoffs. Barely. They won the wild card, but they got hot at the right time.
Like the New York Giants, 9-7.
They hit their stride. Yeah. They were,
Giants did it twice.
They did it twice against Tom
Brady.
Brady.
They were 10 games out with 20 left to play, and they won 18 out of 20, and they went 18-2, and they came into the playoffs, and they're like, dude, nobody wants to play this team. They are hot right now.
Yeah.
But they sucked a month ago.
Yeah.
That's a Democratic Party right now.
Yep.
The Republican, but Trump, They're the team that's sort of been like
great record,
first or second place all season.
2023 Miami Dolphins winning
There you
games
go.
80 to 20.
Yeah.
Like they were killing it going into the playoffs, and then what? Decimated in the first round against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So it's all about timing. It's all about momentum. Democrats had none of it, bro. And now they're sort of peaking at the right time. Right now it's the DNC. And look, momentum's a real thing, dude. Trump had so much momentum a month ago. Do you think he still has that same momentum? Legitimate question.
Nope.
He doesn't.
Not today. Can that change Friday at 2 p.m.?
So
we're gonna find out.
What, with RFK?
Yeah. You
That
want to
is a
talk about
massive
a
thing,
chaos week?
because
I
that
think
could
it's gonna
change
be
momentum.
chaos
That's
weekend.
5 points, one way or another.
Yeah.
So he needs that momentum.
Well, and we're going to get to that one. I want to show you guys, because we talked about Trump. He was at that, doing a speech in South Carolina. Oh, I'm sorry, Rob?
North
In
Carolina.
Asheboro, North Carolina. I'm sorry, I keep messing that up. A woman, I think she fainted out in the audience, and he's behind bulletproof glass. Finally, thank God. So he stops his speech. He looks at the woman, and he does this often, where he goes and he tends, and he looks like he's always worried about them, which is great. But bro, he leaves the bulletproof glass to go up to her. Let me show this, and then I want to get your guys' point of view. Go ahead, Connor. So by the way, bulletproof glass. Okay, he's still protected. You heard that guy? Sign my hat. And then
Imagine if this is how he gets shot.
Bro. Like, let me explain something to you guys. Oh my God.
Maybe I'm brainwashed, but I watch this and I'm like, I love that guy.
I do
There's
too.
something about me. I'm like, I love that he, even though he got shot in the head, he's like, nope, I'm still doing outdoor rallies, and now I'm stepping out behind the bulletproof.
Yeah, but and I want to hear that. But Rob, so, and then Connor, play the next one. The next one is behind her. Behind her, Bo Loudon, one of our boys.
May I point out that he was hard to see when he was hugging her, because now he's surrounded by 6'3" male Secret Service agents.
Yeah, weird.
So
and
Melissa McCarthy isn't the...
So this is
Yeah, I
her.
wonder,
Play this
so
one,
there's seems to be a policy change over there.
So
at
that's
the
it, bro. Stop
Treasury
the speech.
Department.
But this
He
is
literally
why
makes out with her. It's
the
amazing.
people love. The people love it. Dude, she fainted because it's Donald Trump. But here's my thing, guys. Here's my thing. I love him to death, but this. You know how hard
You love him to what?
to death. Like
Let's
when I
not
die, I'm
use
still
that
gonna love
word.
him.
Okay.
How hard, Rob, guys, does this make the Secret Service job? The guy, like with all the criticism and everything that's going on, and mind you, that's an old lady that, who's to say that she couldn't have been a plant? Like, get to the front. Hear me out. Just think tactically.
I mean, like self-identify as a plant?
No, not an actual plant.
That's the wrong party.
We're not the DNC.
Well, this is
person-
2024, Vinny.
Adam, all this person needs to do is create a diversion. Oh, I don't feel good. In the hopes that he stops his speech and comes down, and then he's out in the open. Like, I think there needs to be, like, and I know he's going to do whatever he wants, Rob, and you made a great point. I think it's amazing that he's not going to change. But at what point, I know the security is obviously tightened up, but any window of opportunity, and you're talking about this next 70-some days, they're dying. Whoever set that first one up is still, in my opinion, looking for another chance. What do you think?
It's been 40 days since Trump was shot in the ear, and who has been held accountable from the Secret Service
It
for
hasn't
a
been
massive...
40 days.
It's been 40 days.
July 13th is when he got shot in the ear.
That's how long is... Wow. that
40
feels
days
like-
ago. And think about this. Imagine if any one of us, let's say we started up the show today, and everything turned off, and it was a massive failure. Somebody would be held accountable here. In 40 days from now, we wouldn't fire somebody. We would take action immediately. Yeah. We're a production company. This is the Secret Service of the United States that is supposed to protect the leading Republican candidate going into the most contentious election cycle in the history of the United States. This guy gets shot in the head, and nobody is held accountable. Kimberly Cheadle steps down, and then they give her Secret Service.
Yeah.
Correct. They give
Nobody's been fired.
They give her more protection than they gave a political adversary from a family that seems to attract tragedy.
Yeah. And by the way, we're talking about the same Secret Service, that was denying it from him, and then you give it to the girl. I mean, Fauci, I don't know if Fauci has Secret Service protection, but they got Fauci on lockdown. I saw a video.
Well, they got Hunter Biden on lockdown, and I get it. These people need to be protected. My criticism isn't providing protection for these people, because whether we like Anthony Fauci or not, I do believe, and it sucks that my tax dollars have to go to fund protecting him, but I do believe that there is a necessity to protect him, because there is people out there that want harm done to him.
Of course,
And
they're
so
weird.
I don't want anybody to get hurt. At the same time, there's got to be somebody that's held accountable besides Kimberly Cheeto, who wasn't qualified to be in that position in the first place, from stepping down. Why is nobody being fired?
Period.
Why are we just going, oh, well, that happened. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. And like Tom said, if you notice now, you look at Trump and he's guarded by an NBA team of Secret Service members, whereas before it was like a softball
Actually, they
team
got
of Secret
they're as
Service.
tall, but they got bigger shoulders in the NBA. Those are linebackers now.
I think this, and I appreciate Vinnie bringing this up. I think this is a very good metaphor for basically who Trump is. So on one hand, you have basically surrogates or even the Secret Service. They're basically saying, we recommend you do no more outdoor rallies.
Period.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Number one.
Rule 1, no more outdoor rallies.
Yeah. That lasted a week.
He's like, no, I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So then
They're like, all right, listen. If you do the outdoor rallies, you have to stay in the glass. Okay. First outdoor rally. Yeah, hey, how you doing? So, like, it shows why the swamp or the people, however you want to kind of put the handlers around him, get so frustrated with this guy because there's nothing, and I mean nothing, that they can tell him that you will 100% listen to. Because he's like, I'm going to go with my gut.
Yeah.
But let's play the flip side. You said, this is why I love this guy. Here's this old lady, falls down, he gets up, he breaks all the rules, he's hugging her, he's actually concerned about her.
Yeah.
So the media won't show you that side. They'll be like, idiot Trump leaves the glass, right? But the reality is he hugged an old woman.
He cares.
Or they're going to flip it and say, people are passing out at Trump's campaign rally. He doesn't care about the people. The media is going to flip it one way or another. And this is the beauty and also the ugliness of Trump, that you cannot tell him what to do.
No, never.
He's going to go with his instincts, whether it's good or bad.
But you know what this does? Like, and I'm take a step back, Rob. The people, because it's a group, it's not one person. I'm a lone guy. I went to go shoot. Whoever was behind that first assassination attempt sees this and goes, aha, there is a window of opportunity that this guy is not going to listen to the rules. He's not going to listen to Secret Service's direction. He's not going to do what he's supposed to do. Because Adam, and I'm telling you right now, think as the enemy. The enemy saw that and went, wow, we could still get him out in the open, which is scary as hell, because I believe in my heart of hearts, they're not done. They're not done. And like we said about what's coming on Friday, we're going to talk about RFK. If that number if she starts to dip substantially, and we're getting to like here, you want to talk about the next 70 days? That's when it's going to get wild, Robbie.
And when's their debate?
And by the way, you know what's really
September
interesting?
10th, allegedly.
You got to look at the Secret Service, because there's like two different Secret Service. There's the modern Secret Service, and when DEI and did all these things and is now being crucified for it. But you wonder behind closed doors who is being held accountable. Why haven't we heard more than Kimberly Cheeto got some sort of wink retirement plan and Secret Service protection, and then the new guy came up, and then he got blistered that next week in front of Congress. Remember that, Rob?
Yep.
And then what?
Ronald Rowe, I believe, is
Then what? Then what happened? So this is the modern Secret Service. The old Secret Service had a tough job. Gerald Ford wanted to work a rope line in Sacramento, California, and he tried. So he's out working a rope line. Squeaky Fromm was her name. She misloaded a 45 caliber weapon. So this
Charles
was
Manson squeaky Fromm girl?
Yes, this was a serious weapon, and aimed it. It was chest heart high. She attempted to fire it. It did not fire because she had not, when you push the magazine in, chamber
rack
the first one.
rack it,
She did not chamber the first one. And had she had, he would have been shot right below the left breast, center chest. And so that was the world of I'm going to go work the rope line. I want to talk to the people. This is Sacramento, the capital of California. This isn't Detroit. And he goes out working this rope line. But for the fumbling person, he would have been assassinated.
Yep. And by the way,
that's the old Secret Service where you would leap in front of it. And now I'm glad to see like the old Secret Service is like the new Secret Service.
Are people still trying to figure out
at least in appearance,
what the story was behind this guy?
You don't know what's happening inside with all the political pointing and everything, but at least you've got real dudes who are real fast and real big.
Yeah.
Wait, quickly.
Go
To
ahead,
Adams, are they
By
still
the
trying
way,
to
if
figure
there
out?
is a woman that is that big, that fast, and that strong,
Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But if there is a woman that is big enough, strong enough, fast enough to pass the same test, she gets to be a frontline Secret Service.
Yeah,
I'm
keep
not
that
sexist
offensive
here,
lineman away
but
from
just,
me,
but
thanks.
it just there aren't a lot of women that are that big, that strong, that fast.
Did you mentioned? Are people
Yeah,
still
there are
trying
people still trying to figure this out.
about the lone shooter
Yeah,
scenario
exactly.
with Trump? I mean, it's just odd what has taken place since the shooting. For days after they're scrubbing the crime scene, maybe that's protocol, maybe not. But the idea that they cremated the guy's body like a week afterwards,
Yeah, without like people from Congress, they wanted to examine the body. To see
And
what
which
the hell's
law
going on.
enforcement group wanted to identify, and they were lied to about the date, and then he was cremated.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look at that. I do know that in addition to all of that, there was. I'll have to dig in.
Go ahead.
But yes, there is a lot of people who are still suspect that he was the only shooter. I mean, the guy was training at the same facility that the Department of Homeland Security goes and shoots at.
Yes.
All of it just seems suspect. But no, there's not a smoking gun that links anything outside of this guy other than him being a lone shooter.
You know what's weird? You know, you're always like, weird. Look, I don't know how Gay McLovin got there and basically got on the roof and did his thing. But there's one reason that they're not talking about this, and there's one reason only. And that's because Donald Trump isn't talking about it.
Yeah, it's weird.
I've never heard Donald Trump be like, they tried to kill me, and I know there was an inside job. I've never heard him say this.
It's one.
If anything, he was sort of praising the Secret Service. They're doing their best.
Consistently-
So, like, it
consistently
makes
praising,
me wonder, someone who will, go to the lengths of the earth
It's very odd.
on allegations. Obama, was he born here? I don't
Yeah,
know.
of course.
People are saying.
For something this serious.
But now he's not saying anything. And believe me, if there's anybody that has vested interest in his own life,
Yeah.
it's Trump.
Yeah, it's weird.
So that is the biggest tell to me.
there's also an obvious
that if
angle
he's
there.
not calling out these conspiracy theories,
Nobody else
I
is.
don't know if there is one. That's my
And,
point.
and just really fast, Tom, I want your point. To everybody that's tuning in right now, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for watching. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. 60% of you guys are watching, and I love it. But you guys just go and you just hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you.
60% of the time they watch, 100% of the time they don't subscribe.
watch 60% of the time.
But the 60%, we got to get 100%
100%
subscribing
backward.
rather than the 60% not subscribing.
Exactly.
Do better, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. I think there's something on Trump there that you have to point out. How would this sound? These guys are bums. It was an inside job. They didn't protect me. They're in it together. They're part of the establishment. Okay, press conference over. All right, let's go out to the rally. Now remember, guys, if something happens, jump in front of the bullet.
Yeah.
So
you can't
how does
criticize-
that work?
Well, I'm telling you right now, you criticize the people that are watching you. It's not good. All right, but hold on, because I want to play this video. This is Trump. By the way, he's back behind the glass. Thank God. He's talking about the Marxist ideology of Kamala and how he's saying that CRT, critical race theory, transgender insanity, and all that is going to be left out of the armed services, which I love. Go ahead, Connor.
But under Comrade Kamala, our military has been abused for
good.
radical social experiments. On day one, I will get critical race theory and transgender insanity the hell out of our U.S.
There he goes. Old Trump.
We're taking it out.
Taking it out.
Our warriors should be focused on defeating America's enemies, not figuring out their genders. By that time, hopefully, they know their gender.
You know what?
Marxist ideologies have no place in combat. Think of it. They go in and they decide, oh, they're going to change my gender. No, we want them to know their gender when they go in. You have no idea the disruption that has caused, and the fake news refuses to report it.
Big time. By the way, I absolutely love that because for the first time, I don't know ever, Rob, but in a long time, our military, nobody's joining. We are the weakest that we've ever been. I know for a fact because somebody told me about their cousin that joined as a guy to get rid of all his stuff, the trans. What, I don't even know the surgery, gender
reassignment.
That's the only reason they joined, to do their time and then leave.
That's the only reason I'd actually join the military.
That's
at this
it.
point. I'm looking for a
That's it.
deal.
But I think
maybe a BOGO, a buy one, get one gender affirmation.
But that's not-
That's the
okay.
only reason I would do it.
Okay. That's also not something that's new. I had a bunch of, I went to college in 2004. I had a bunch of buddies coming out of high school that enlisted in the military just so they could get free education. So there has always been people that will use the military to better their lives in their opinion or viewpoint.
But I think with
They
schooling,
should.
no, but hold on, but
Military's going to use the hell out of you. Use the hell out of them.
Yeah, but and that's my thing with school, because with schooling, with the military, they give you what's the program called? I forget.
The GI Bill.
The GI Bill, where you put in like
This guy's in the military,
$1,200
forgets.
bucks. They match it, and while I was in, I got to just take courses, and there were some of these courses where you just take the test. I passed tests, then they gave me the credit. You know what I mean? So I think there's a huge difference of taking advantage of schooling because hear me out. The schooling betters you to be a better soldier because if you join enlisted, then you get your degree. You could become an officer.
Yes,
which I understand. I get that.
I don't see how this makes you a better soldier. I agree 100%. And also, when it comes to this, okay, college is a one-time cost. You're going to pay that out.
Yeah.
When these people go through these surgeries as a member of the United States military, are we covered? This isn't a project. It's not like when you go to the doctor and you've had a rotator cuff tear and they stitch you up, they give you the surgery, you go to rehab, and then you're better. This is something that it's a life-changing surgery that there is going to be lifelong care that's going to be needed for that. Does the military cover those costs?
What do you mean? 1,000%?
Yes, they do.
You get service connected. Like, I mean, it's taking, you guys have no idea
But they won't cover you if you're a vet and you're just injured in war. I've seen the problems that you've gone through with the VA of just trying to get your back looked at.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. So they won't cover that. But if you want to chop your privates off and become a different
Bro,
trainer,
They're sitting there like this.
Let me say something, because I've seen this guy, his hearing, his back.
Huh?
I
didn't hear what you said.
I've seen this thing where you go in, you're like, dude, my back. They're like, sorry, man, we don't cover. And then you have a soldier come in and he's like, look, doctor, my vagina's killing me, man. I got to figure this thing out. They're like, well, you have a penis. That's only what you see on the outside.
And
they're like, all right, let's take care of that little.
How crazy is
that?
And
meanwhile,
and I'm
actual
suffering. The amount of stuff that we have to go to, and the people that are, mind you, the veterans out there will know what I'm talking about. And sometimes you'll have like a good VA where people are like, hey, man, mine is great. But the majority, bro, if you actually go walk into a VA. I mean, go with somebody that's a veteran because they won't let you in, I'll let you everything. Just look at the general atmosphere at a VA. It's sad as hell, bro.
But then go try to get a sex change at that VA.
Then you're good.
Look at the parade they put on for you.
Am I crazy for thinking it should be the opposite? You said sometimes you get a good VA.
Yeah.
It should be all the time.
Of course.
And sometimes there's a bad one.
Well, Rob, you know what? You know why? Because the amount of money we have to give Zelensky. No, we have to give money. He wants more money. That's why when he goes to paying this guy $200 billion. What is the problem? And we always say this: we have to fix home first. The United States is if I had to do an analogy, Tom, we're like on a sinking boat. It's like we're on the Titanic, okay? And the ship is gradually going down, but you know what we are? Hey, shut up, Captain. Hey, what? Oh, you have a problem? Come on the boat. Come on the boat. No. And we're sinking. That's what we are.
I'll tell you one thing, bro.
Yeah.
And you'll know better than this. I'm going to pose the question.
Pose it.
The Ukraine thing, that's recent. How long has the VA sucked for?
Oh, for a long time.
Okay.
But I mean, we give people money all the time. Yeah.
Great. But let's go deeper. Now, let's not be like, oh, it's Zelensky's fault. Let's go deeper for a second. Ready?
Fault.
Who runs the, when you go get your driver's license, who runs that?
The government.
The government.
Yeah.
You get good service there?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, GMV in every state.
Exactly.
insane.
You know what?
I
The
just
government
recently
has
got my
managed to be
license.
consistent about one thing. The DMV in every state is
Exactly.
slow and inefficient.
So thank you. So we've established this fact. Who runs the VA? Is it the government?
Yeah, it's the
It's not
government.
a private company.
No, it's the
so
government.
that's the problem, bro.
It's the government,
Is
yeah.
that when you have government bloat and bureaucracy, that's, you know, if you ever I go TSA pre-check, or Pat always talks about you go through clear.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
Of course.
Right? You go through general admission.
Forget it.
What are you doing? Take off your clothes.
Yeah.
Bend
Punch in the
over.
face. Yeah.
It's a totally different thing. So,
It's
you know,
the
are we
government.
going to privatize the VA? I don't know. This isn't my world. But if the government is running the VA, that's the reason that it's bullshit.
But so doesn't
Not
that
that they're sending money all other places.
Doesn't that say something about the government?
Yes.
That there's severe problems that
Yes.
every single entity that the government touches is worse off with their involvement than
this is
not.
my point. This is my point.
And that's the point where I'm saying I'm not blaming Zelensky. I'm saying we understand what's going
government,
on.
Not more government.
Of course, but the government, at the end of the day, they're giving Zelensky, they're giving Taiwan, they're giving everybody all this money, and it's absolutely insane. It's not benefiting us at all.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I know you do.
But that's a percentage of the problem. And that's a Band-Aid here, Band-Aid here, because you can go year after year after year what we did and we did this. It's the fact that government doesn't solve. Government
problems
makes the problem worse.
Yeah, of course.
And so the reason the VA sucks isn't because we gave Zelensky money. The reason the VA sucks is because big government sucks.
Yeah.
And big government spending sucks.
Yes.
So let's try to limit that while we improve the inside.
What is crazy, even though for all of its flaws, this is still the greatest country in the entire world.
Yeah.
It's an anomaly that this exists.
Yeah.
And so at the same time when we sit here and we bitch about how inefficient this government is, it's still the best option out there.
Serious.
So that's the conundrum, because I have friends who are like, man, I'm just going to go live in Australia. And I'm like, really, bro? Do you actually know how bad it is in Australia? Go talk to Amy. And to have Amy educate you on what's going on. I just talked to a guy named Victor on Manect. Shout out to Victor. Suggested guest for PBD podcast. Turned out to be a great conversation. But he's sitting there telling me about the downfalls of what's going on in Australia. And I've got buddies that are like, man, if Trump is elected, I can't live here no more. I'm like, really? So it's better right now? It's better now than when Trump was in office? And on top of that, you're going to go to a totalitarian dictatorship, a country like Australia, where they test out these totalitarian measures before they bring them home to the United States. You'd rather go there? It just shows that you don't know anything.
Bingo. What a point by Rob. What a point. But we don't even have to go across the globe to how many people, if Trump gets elected, I'm moving to Canada.
All the singers, all the actors, they're still here.
I'm moving to Canada.
Share.
But it's such an ego thing.
You have no
like
idea how many times people from Canada are trying to say, dude, I got to get the hell out of this
all the
place.
time on
it's probably like 10% of my messages, hey, how can you get me out of Canada? I'm like, I'm not in immigration, bro.
Yeah.
And despite how shitty some of we're
it's
still
such
number
a
one.
prideful, egotistical thing. I, the celebrity, I, the rock star, that if Trump is elected, I will move to Canada. As if the rest of America is supposed to say, oh no, we're going to lose this precious national treasure.
Share left. I'm leaving.
Your ego.
Yeah.
Anyway, and some of those celebrities better be careful, because that kind of campaigning could lead to more votes for Trump. Because people would say, you know what? Your expiration date is right now. I'm going to make sure this is. And somewhere in Canada, there's got to be people saying, we got to, man, you know what? We got to help Kamala get elected. These knuckleheads might move here.
Yeah, exactly. And Tom, because I want to keep going. I know we have some minutes left, but I want to go through these pretty rapidly. So, Tom, we're going to go with some election updates, which is actually the housing updates. Tom, what do you have? What's going on with Gavin, with California? I know you have some stuff about Elizabeth Warren and everything, but I want you to
let's talk about two things.
Okay.
Let's talk about housing in the election as being presented by the Democrats, and then let's talk about California as a whole, because I think we've all got some commentary on there. Okay. So what is happening is there's, after spending the last 2 years under Biden saying everything is great, you know, inflation's coming down, and trying to sell us on it, and realizing that it wasn't. Suddenly we get into the election cycle and they're willing to say things are actually not as good. And they have announced that they're going to, Kamala Harris says, the tax credits of up to $25,000 to first-time home buyers, and we're going to buy 3 million homes. Build 3 million homes. So here's what's going on there. They know we need more homes for sale because the supply needs to be for sale for prices to come down even a little bit. That's just a fact. And unless people want to sell their homes, and people with the 2% and 3% mortgages don't want to sell their home, mom and dad are keeping the home in Pennsylvania and they're renting down in Florida when they come down for the winter. They're not letting go of that, you know, mortgage with the payment based on 2.5% to 3.5%. So until those houses come on the market, or we build more houses on the market, prices aren't coming down. So they're throwing out this goal of building 3 million new homes in 4 years, but they're not saying where they're going to build them. Yeah. How are you going to? Are you partnering with Toll Brothers? Are you partnering with some of the Linares, some of the great builders of America to do it? They're building as fast as they can. How the hell are you going to do it? So that is an empty promise. And then $25,000 to first-time home buyers. You know, to, cover down payment and closing costs. It's like, okay, so you want to give people a little leg up, but where does that money come from? That money is tax money that's just going to come from you and me today, taxes, or tomorrow, more deficit and long-term national debt you have to pay for. So this is populist baloney being promulgated by Kamala Harris after 2 years of saying, isn't Joe Biden great? Everything is going great in the economy. And now they're running out and saying, and we're trying to see if we can get the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates, knowing we're going to get a rate decrease of 1/4 point in September. And they're kind of putting themselves in a position to take credit for it. So no surprise here. This is an empty promise. Nothing is going to happen for America. Meanwhile,
here we go.
Meanwhile, let's go to California and make this an all-skate discussion here.
Okay.
Gavin Newsom comes out and says, hey, this is what we're going to do. We have the homeless problem, and a lot of recent immigrants are among the homeless. They came over here. They have no home. They're sleeping in tents. They're looking for places. It's the familiar. They're in a tent city under an overpass because they walked across from Mexico and are trying to figure it out. And they're just trying to get shelter from their family, end up in a tent city, which creates a lot of other social problems. So suddenly Gavin Newsom, realizing that crime in this or in California, he runs out, puts on work gloves and sunglasses and saying, I am tired of this crap. These cities in California have not been doing. We have been enabling them. What did he say? Sacramento has given billions of dollars from Sacramento for this. So now it's the mayor's problem and the mayor's fault in his own state that he's had attacking. He says, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to sign this bill. Money is going to come for the down payment. And you don't necessarily have to repay it in this lifetime, is the fine print. So you have recent immigrants coming here without credit being given a down payment for free so that they could buy a home, and then they move into it on a highly subsidized and adjusted payment. Meanwhile, you have citizens of California that are trying to figure out how they get into the house. They graduated from college. The state's more expensive. It looks nothing like the California's parents have told them about. And they can't afford and can't get a house, and they're still living in the den at their dad's house.
Wow.
And they're saying, wait a minute. So the newbies come here? Gavin Newsom is doing this to create an optical improvement in the homelessness by getting them off the street and into these houses, and the absolute, inequity to the hardworking, tax-paying citizens of California be damned.
Unbelievable.
What do you think?
And because what was it? The bill that was passed in the House is expected to be approved by the Senate by Newsom. 2 million illegal
House, California Senate.
Yeah, California Senate. My bad. 2 million illegals will qualify for the program. AB 1840 will prevent the state's Dream for All Shared Appreciation Loans program from denying individuals the basis of their immigration status. So, Tom, how is
Keep reading.
Okay,
And
the program will allow participants to get loans up to 20% of the home's purchase price, or what a typical down payment is, with zero down payment on the state loan required.
And when do they pay it back? Keep reading.
There are no provisions on how the borrower can pay back, meaning they can come home, live in it for as long as they want without ever paying a dime.
Right.
How long?
Yeah, so the only people that are going to be good on this is the people that just sold a little home to an immigrant because they get,
of course,
the house gets sold.
Oh, man.
But now that 20% is on the back of the California taxpayers.
Oh, so and then, which one's this one, Robbie? Now, this was
this is the election update regarding RFK.
Oh, okay. So, Tom, I want to make a shift. George Conway, you said, made a statement in regard to RFK, and what was it, Tom?
Oh, Donald Trump, it appears that JFK Jr. went to the highest bidder. This is George Conway all but admitting that he knows that RFK is going to endorse Trump.
On Friday.
That's what he's saying. Because otherwise, George Conway would saying, in Trump's dreams, RFK is an independent guy. We've got our differences with him, but he's not going anywhere. Wouldn't George Conway say that? We know George Conway, the bombastic guy that he is. Yeah. Instead, he's sitting there saying, I guess it went to the highest bidder. I think this is Dems. This is one of their first mouthpiece strategists admitting that they know what's about to happen. And to Rob, your point, chaos chapter 9.
Yeah. Yep, it's supposed to occur Friday, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Kennedy is going to address the nation during a live stream. according to reports, he is going to end his campaign and he is going to back Donald Trump. Donald Trump says RFK Jr. would probably have a role in his administration. This came out from the Daily Caller yesterday. According to the Daily Caller, Trump told CNN's Kristen Holmes during a campaign event in Michigan that he would love to receive Kennedy's endorsement. The former president added that he would certainly be open to having Kennedy in his administration if the third-party candidate were to drop out of the race, saying, I like him a lot, I respect him a lot, I probably would. If something like that would happen, he's a very different kind of guy, a very smart guy. And yes, I would be honored by that endorsement, certainly.
You know what's wild? When is this happening? Friday at 2 p.m. Imagine that Friday, once he's done at 2:05, they're like, Biden's like, Secret Service, you're done. We're not giving you Secret Service protection anymore.
What's interesting is, for this announcement, it is, I don't know how much of a game changer this will be. I'll leave that for you guys to discuss. It is interesting that this is coming out on Friday at 2 p.m. This is not something that's breaking news. This is leading up to a scheduled release.
Yeah.
My question, why 2 p.m. on a Friday? Typically, when the news is going to dump a story that they hope gets buried in the course of the weekend, and, it'll get reported on, but by Monday, it's a whole new news cycle, and people aren't reporting on it. Why make that a point? Why make that announcement on 2 p.m. on a Friday?
When is Kamala's acceptance speech?
Thursday.
When's Kamala's speech?
That's a great point. Kamala's acceptance speech.
Is.
So it's Thursday night. So Friday afternoon, RFK's apparently going to come up and say, I'm supporting Donald Trump. And so here's my question to you, Tom, while Rob's looking this up.
Close out tonight.
Closes out. Yeah, it's done tonight.
So Kamala's speaking tonight. The news cycle is revving up tomorrow. Vinny.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about what two people died the same day?
Oh, yeah. Farrah Fawcett and Michael Jackson died around the same time on the same day. Farrah Fawcett died first, and the news was like, hey, late breaking news, Farrah Fawcett. And then what happened?
And it was like, we interrupt this news. So Farrah Fawcett died at approximately 10 in the morning. Yeah. It says at 11, the news was out. One of America's sweethearts, Farrah Fawcett, has succumbed to cancer.
Very sad.
And then this just in, because police scanners in L.A. picked up that, victim in cardiac arrest.
Michael Jackson.
And it was the Holmby Hills location for Michael Jackson. They interrupted the coverage of Farrah Fawcett has just passed away.
There.
I interrupt. Hang on. Farrah Fawcett has died. Wait, hang on a second. Ambulances are heading to the home that's currently being rented by Michael Jackson. It says that someone is in cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And an hour later at 2 o'clock, they said Michael Jackson has been pronounced dead.
And people forgot it, like the news
people
story.
People forgot about it. This is what's about to happen. What I'm bringing that up, and there's a tragedy. 2 people died there. But the point was the bigger news eclipsed the other news. So you're giving Kamala Harris, wants to get the bounce out into the news cycle tomorrow for the weekend, and they are putting a bomb right in the middle of that roadway in RFK jumping out, which I think strategically is one of the smartest things. If this is the way it works, it's one of the smartest things that the Trump campaign has done in 45 days, because they have been kind of flat-footed strategically and in terms of message and unification, have they not?
Yeah, this is this was coordinated to go out Friday, 2 p.m. to basically subdue whatever happened at the DNC for the last 4 days. Yep. And I'm glad that you kind of
gave them
established the fact that the bigger story will trump, no pun intended, the smaller story, because Farrah Fawcett, with all due respect, shame Michael Jackson, bro. Yeah. Stop.
No, so that's the point.
Exactly. Yeah. But so there's also another narrative of who won the weekend. That's a whole thing. If you see stories that always drop on Friday, when they do these Sunday morning press briefs, like they basically, go over what happened this past week.
Yeah, meet the press, face the nation, all that.
Exactly. Who won the weekend? And 100% the DNC won the weekend until what?
The RFK.
RFK. So there's some strategic.
Do you remember the name, Tom, you may remember this name, Gary Condit?
Yes.
And Chandra Levy. Chandra Levy was the intern for Gary Condit. He was a U.S. representative. They had an affair. She went missing in May of 2001. Yeah. Their affair becomes public because he was married July 7th of 2001. The entire news cycle of July and August of 2001 was Gary Condit, this missing woman. September 11th, and his involvement. September 11th happens. No one ever talks about Gary Condon again or Chandra Levy. Turns out Chandra Levy was murdered by some stranger. Gary Condon had nothing to do with it, but nobody ever picked up on that story ever again. All anybody remember was Gary Condon had something to do with Chandra Levy disappearing. It ended his political career, and 9/11 wiped him off the front page of every
newspaper. Because ultimately what you're saying is come Monday, there's always going to be a news story or a bigger story.
Yes.
Trump got shot in the face. All right, next thing.
Joe Biden dropped out.
Like, there's always going to be something that takes the place of the biggest story, and that's the quick, hypersensitive news media that we're in right now. Is that there's going to be a story dude? We're gonna talk about this episode. By the end of the day, there's going to be a bigger story than we're talking about today.
At 2 p.m. tomorrow, RFK makes this announcement. What are your guys' thoughts on how that impacts the remainder of the 2024 election?
So I was looking at polls all this week, and all this week, you've heard me talk about it. They like to talk about the national poll, where many national polls have had Kamala Harris 1.5 to 2 points ahead. Oh, look at the momentum. National polls is like time of possession of a football game. That's not what wins the game. Field goals and touchdowns wins a game, and those are state electoral votes. That's a simple way to think about it for the average person. Yeah. And when you go look at it, Arizona has spread a little bit more Trump this week during the DNC. Georgia has spread a little bit more Trump this week. So what is happening on the ground of the states is the enthusiasm bounce of Kamala has come into the DNC, and the core Democrats that are watching are being energized, seeing the Obamas speaking again. There's a lot of energy for the core base. But are they winning over independents with any new and interesting messages? Well, they were trying to do so with this housing thing. They were trying to do so by saying they're going to tax people. They were trying to do so by saying that we're going to go after grocery gouging, whatever go after means.
Don't even know what the hell that means.
So they were trying these populist things to see if they could pull the independent. She is living in a bounce right now, but there has not been the level of the Obama convention bounce was fatal to McCain. Yeah. The Obama convention bounce was nearly fatal to Romney. Romney almost neutralized it after the first debate and then sagged in the second debate. You take a look at what happened. Hillary got less of a bounce than people thought because everybody thought, well, it's just more Hillary all the time. Yeah. There's nothing we don't know. And there was no enthusiasm for Hillary. We've seen that. And so now you're looking at it. This week has not been a big Obama bounce, anything close to an Obama bounce. And it's been barely as much as the Hillary bounce. Statistically, this isn't my opinion. This is just stats of history. And so if this RFK thing moves independence, I want to see things a week from Monday on what's called the normalizing poll set. A week from Monday. Yep. And I'm betting you're going to be back with Trump having about 80% of the leads that he had under Biden, if they choose to campaign and push and drive.
Yeah.
So is this because...
And then she has to talk.
Again, yes. I go back
debate. To the... As soon as that happens,
I go back to the buying a new car and then recognizing that car every time you're driving the car. Is this we're paying more? Like, it feels like the media shift in Kamala has been, and I'm wondering if this is paid advertisement on social media, and that's what I'm seeing. But it feels like my feeds have been inundated with, I'm a white guy, I'm voting for Harris. Yes. I'm a black lesbian, I'm voting for Harris. It feels like my entire feed is people identifying who they are and that they're voting for Kamala, and that is all. Like, it feels like my feed has been hijacked. Is that part of the strategy to inundate the masses on social media through ad buys so that they feel like this propaganda? It's do you get what I'm saying? Like, is it actually this level of support, or am I, again, falling victim to propaganda because of the algorithm?
No, it's not your algorithm. It's not the algorithm. It's the amount of money that, because Tom, did she inherit that $200 million that they raised? Did she get that?
Nobody spoke definitively, but it appears that the war chest for Biden has
kind of transferred to Kamala.
Repurposed for
Yeah,
Harris.
because it said there was an here we go. Harris, this is from Reuters. Harris election effort raises more than $500 million in a month.
Rob, and that's why she is everywhere on yours. She's everywhere on mine. Everything that I see, there's an ad, and it's her or Barack saying this, or they need $5, or they need $10, and it's. By the way, on what station right now, mainstream legacy media, are you seeing Trump? Obviously. Fox.
Yeah.
Right? Like, meaning in a positive light. List all the ones that are on the left. MSNBC, CNN, ABC.
Just say all non-Fox.
All non-Fox. So she's like, and you're not, it's a propaganda mission that they're just, because bro, the more they push her in your face, the more you're like, okay, I can get used to her. Even though they don't know nothing about her, she has no record. She has no, her history is abysmal, but people don't care. And Adam said it from your first point. It's just, what's in your face? What's in your face? She's a woman. She's a woman of color. Come on, ladies. Come on, ladies.
Because it feels, and this is why I brought this up, because I think it gives validity to what Tom says. You can't propagandize the polls.
Yeah.
You cannot propagandize the stats and the actual facts and numbers.
The good polls. There are some polls that are corrupt.
Okay, correct. But
you're right.
For me, I got to be honest. The past couple of weeks, it felt like, and it felt like we were losing this election. And now I step back and I go, okay, well, it is. It's not that there is this tremendous amount of support across the nation for her. It's on these social media feeds. And if you step back and look outside of that, let's give it some time and see how the Kamala bounce actually happens. But don't believe, this is weird. It's like 1984. Don't believe what you're seeing. I'm telling you not to believe what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Because what you're seeing is propaganda. Don't believe it. This is not the actual America or America's reaction or the American voters' reaction to Kamala.
So let's
it's the algorithm.
Let's go look at the calendar.
about that, dude.
What is the date of the one
September
double confirmed
10th. September
Correct.
10th.
September 10th. And today is the 22nd. So we have 7 and 10, so that's 17. In 21 days, look at the normalizing polls. That's all you have to do. And they will be normalized out before the debate. And that debate, if anyone on the DNC side does not believe that debate is not just critical, it is vital, and it is the hinge of which the election door will swing. Because I believe there's going to be a normalizing out, and Trump is not going to have the lead he had over Biden. It's less than that. But I think we need to see, is the Trump campaign is the Trump campaign apparatus going to drive successfully? Are they going to really be, effectively spending against what has been in their faces? $500 million has been raised. All of that is coming after the media event, which has not had the super pop. And I'm looking at this weekend, and I'm looking at next weekend. I want to see the normalizing polls, and I'm predicting that while it will still be a tight election, that going into the debate, it will be the Dems will be the ones that are sweating unless the Trump campaign just doesn't show up and there's some horrible gaffe.
Yeah. And I'm okay, so because I think we're almost done, Rob. I want to just skip to, if you guys don't mind, Tom, the migrant story that I found. Connor, is this it?
Want to just
what's
and
up?
as you go to the voting booth, remember 28% of Americans are looking for a new job, the highest in 14 years.
28%.
28%. So let's just leave that there. That's a fact.
Yeah.
As you go to the voting booth, think about your country, but maybe think about yourself. What kind of economy do you want to go find that new job in?
Yeah, show them that. Can you go back, Connor? Show them that. Tom, just really, really quick. What is that?
Oh, and then there's Elizabeth Warren. This is great. Elizabeth Warren comes out and she says, Elizabeth Warren tweet, I'm reading verbatim without emphasis. Have you noticed that groceries cost a lot more than they did a few years ago? ? You're not the only one, period. Massive food corporations have kept prices up nationwide to exploit consumers and make a profit. It's time to bring them down. That is from Elizabeth Warren. That is the whole tweet. She's saying this as if people are stupid and haven't noticed it. Sarah Eisen of CNBC, thank you, Sarah. She says, Kroger's gross, in a reply tweet, Kroger's gross margin in fiscal first quarter, which ends May 25th, was 20.2%. This is the same as the 19.9% level in January 22. In other words, Kroger is making the exact same profit margin that they were back in the middle of COVID. Albertsons was 25.8%, down from 28% in February 2020. So Albertsons is less profitable. So words talk, Numbers scream, and Elizabeth Warren. And by the way, this chart here, if you're watching on YouTube versus on Spotify, this is a chart clearly showing that the profits that grocery chains and food corporations were making over the last 4 years has been declining. So prices may be up for that jar of applesauce, but the apples, the machine that crushed them into sauce, the glass jar, the label, and shipping are all costing the company more, and they're making less profit on that than they did, and you and I are paying more for it.
And back to the job numbers, 28% of Americans are now searching for a job. But then yesterday, the U.S. Department of Labor announced that the U.S. economy actually added 818,000 fewer jobs than previously reported.
Oh, wait, so they lied to us?
So there's 28% of people looking for more jobs, and there's 818,000 less jobs that were reported.
Oh, great.
And by the way, if you're listening, I don't care what your political affiliation is, and you could be really upset and writing crazy, angry comments to this right now. Pause for a second and just think of the following. Our government, your government, my government, our government announced less than 2 weeks ago jobs numbers, and they gave credit to themselves, to the current administration and to certain senators. They all took credit for that. Never mind your political party. That was a number. 2 weeks later, while we're all distracted by a convention and by other news items, they slip in, and thank goodness certain business news organizations found it, that number, nearly 1 million jobs, were BS that was in that jobs report. And now they announce the revision. Well, regular revision is basically a pattern of deceit. And ladies and gentlemen, we have to be on the ball as people. We have to demand accountability from our elected officials, because this is the new pattern of deceiving us.
And the data was released on Wednesday. That's still preliminary, those 818,000 jobs. The final figures, guess when they're expected to be released? Way after the election.
Oh, weird.
In February.
Oh, great
So
timing.
you're not even going to actually get the actual final figures until after the election.
Yeah, because we have to order batteries for the calculator, and it's a special battery.
And Amazon's out of stock.
But think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and we're wrong, and we know we're wrong, at least this, and we'll let you know how wrong after you voted for, forget the president, senators, congressmen, mayors, governors, everybody that's a part of that machine. We're going to tell you the whole truth, if it's the whole truth, after the election. Think about that.
February of 2025.
Think about that.
And this is from March of 2023 to April of 2023. So it's going to take you almost 23 months to release the final stats on a jobs report from 2023.
Adam, you talk to people about money. Would you recommend telling the government that you think you owe them $20,000 taxes in February, then you wait and you don't pay it, and you wait till August and you say, wait, I'm pretty sure it should be $15,000 taxes, but let you know in January. What would happen to we can't do that. The government gets to do it to us, but we couldn't do that.
Oh, of course not.
You'd have fines on your taxes. It just shows the one-way street that this is.
Yeah, and nothing's going right. And by the way, and I hope the people that are listening, that should, like we talked about from the beginning of this podcast, Adam, you set it off, your vote. When you go vote, these are the type of things that you have to go for. Not for, you know what, I wasn't going to vote for her, but remember they had Oprah up there. Oprah swayed my vote. Do not let them get to you. And I'm going to go to this last story.
We don't need term limits. We need jail.
Yeah, no, Tom, I'm with you 1,000%. And this last story, guys, this was on New York Post. The Biden-Harris administration has lost track of more than 320,000 migrant children who crossed the border without parents, according to a shocking new report. Untold numbers of the children who were released into U.S. to qualified sponsors are now at risk for sex trafficking, forced labor, and other forms of exploitation. A Homeland Security Inspector General report released on this Monday. As of May 2024, there are 291,000 migrant children who arrived in the U.S. as unaccompanied minors who were set free and never given a date to appear in immigration court, meaning there's no way to track where these kids are. Okay, that is in addition to 32,000 children that the Immigration and Customs Enforcement authorities released into the U.S. with hearing dates, but then failed to show up in court. Okay, according to a 14-page report which tracked the period from October 2018 to September 2023. And then last, a federal whistleblower said that she believes many of these kids could already be in the hands of criminals and sex traffickers. I mean, and again, these are major issues. And not to, Rob, what? I forgot the number of vanished missing, not the sponsor who came. And by the way, I heard when these sponsors show up, Rob, there's no background check. There's nothing at them. They just show up and go, yeah, I'm the uncle. Okay, take them. Here's a piece of paper. We'll see you in court. And
one should be too many. And the fact that it's 320,000 times that amount is so upsetting, especially, Tom, you have 2 daughters. I have 2 sons. My 5-year-old, I see the innocence in this child's eyes, how much he loves everything. Everything. I come home from work. It's the best thing that's happened today.
So awesome.
It's time for a bath. It's the best thing that's ever happened today.
Yeah.
To deprive someone of that innocence and take that away from them. And then this is like, of all the things that the government should be doing, it should be protecting people who cannot protect themselves. And that's what makes this country great, is that when there are people that need refuge from other countries and they come here the right legal way, we provide aid to them. We help them. How is this allowed to happen? It's so disgusting and upsetting that even one child goes unaccounted for. But I mean, this is stadium fulls of children. Think about that. Tampa Bay Rays Stadium seats 40,000 people. This is how many times more than that? 8 times.
8 times.
You could fill Tampa Bay Rays Stadium with 8 times the amount of children that are missing, and what's being done to find them. It's just disgusting.
Well, Tom, because I want to. What do you think? With the question that he asked,
I'm interested in, what you think deeper, because if you're going to not protect the border and you let the people flood in, once they're here, you want to give them the right to vote. You want to give them a free cell phone. Don't you want to give them the legal protections that every other person that lives here has? The ability to call the fire department and get help, the ability to call the police department and get protection or get a situation diffused. And yet you bring them in here, and we used to have truant officers at schools. We've got people at schools that allege we need to protect kids from their parents by allowing them to have abortions or to, start, trans and gender things. And we want to protect the children from their own parents. So if you're so big on protecting children, why is it when you open the border and you're welcoming these people that you want to give citizenship to, all these precious kids that are coming in, you don't want to give them the basic protection of who the hell is that picking you up?
Yeah.
And being able to document where they're going. He says that to me is just, the means to an end to flood the country with voters, which is the plan, means that it doesn't really matter what happens to all of them.
Yep.
And the federal government doesn't keep track of them, and Gavin Newsom will figure out a way to give you a free house, and discriminate against his own taxpayers.
Yeah.
I just think it's horrible. I mean, it's such a two-sided, it's insidious.
It's insidious, and it's absolutely disgusting, the fact that they're children, because at some point, these children, if that's their even purpose, that they're just going, they're vanishing, but they're not voters. What are you using children for? 320,000 children that we don't know where they are. It's not like they're 18, 19, and they're going to go vote. These are children. They didn't say young adults. They said children, but it's not secret. It's not a secret. Protecting kids, it's not like it's the high priority on the government or the mainstream media. What's the movie, Rob, that came out? Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom. Was it promoted anywhere? A movie about a true story about a sex trafficking situation with a girl, with her brother, with her family. Nobody, I didn't see it anywhere, Tom. It wasn't anywhere. Fox News and like some independent outlets. And I want to say this before we close. With all that being said, with everything that we just said, come November, when you go to vote, because Tom, I love that you made the point about the policies and the housing and with Elizabeth Warren and all these people in regard to groceries. With all this open border, okay, there needs to be sensible control, all right? And if 320,000 misplaced migrant children that nobody knows where they are, they're released into the wild without any guardrails, a significant amount, guys, not a 5%, not a 20%, a huge amount of them are inevitably going to be going and winding up at 1,000 Epstein Islands around the United States, without a doubt.
You put it that way, and that's just painful to think about, that we're turning a blind eye to what you just called it, 1,000 little Epstein Islands. Yeah. That's That's horrifying.
It's but Tom, very very feasible, and it could Adam. Like you feel what I'm coming from?
Well, I think if you're going to look at this politically, if you look at it morally, nobody feels good about this unless you're an absolute psychopath. This is horrible. These are kids, and Rob, very poignant, absolute amazing point. Like when you said I have 2 sons, I see I have a nephew. All my best friends have kids. Like nobody wants to see bad things to kids. 100%. How can Trump use this to pivot to his advantage? I feel like every day that he's not talking about the calamity that is the border is a failed opportunity.
Yep.
The border is arguably a more powerful message at this point than the economy, because we talked about the economy is okay, but it's not that okay. Inflation, Bidenomics. Kamala owns the border. She was the quote unquote border czar. Whether she wants to deny it or not, we know the truth.
It's in the congressional record.
Anything that has to do with the border, if he's not hitting that every single day, remember the map, the graph that saved Trump's life? He needs to go to that well every single day. Any day that he's not talking about the border and he's talking about whether she likes curry or grits and she's black or Indian is a missed opportunity.
Yep.
It's pointless. Yep. Nobody cares about that.
Yep.
Focus on the border. You can win this election.
Yep. Border, economy, and everything
border and abortion. Border and abortion.
Yeah.
Those are the things at this point.
Do you know what's interesting? You say that. All the research will tell you this. The big 3 issues is immigration and the border, inflation and the economy, because people think of the economy, they think of inflation about their budget, and they think of the economy as their little economy. It says, and then women's rights. Those are the big 3. If you go to Arizona, Democrats and Republicans on the heat index, it's very interesting, Adam, they feel the same way about immigration, because guess what? In Arizona, Democrats and Republicans have undocumented people.
And it's a border state.
Living, but they see the people live, living there, out in front of the same Kroger. The Democrat and the Republican go to Kroger to get groceries, and you have this tent city and these people right in front of you. So both in Arizona, they see it equally. You go to someplace like Missouri, and the Republicans see it on a logical, rational policy level, and the Democrats see it differently because it's not in their face. Same thing when you go to the economy. You go to economy in Alabama, both sides are feeling the same about inflation. They don't feel so much about the border. Women's right is tipped. Each state is a little different, and those are the states, one by one, that are going to make up the tapestry of who wins this election.
Yep, and I can't wait. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. I mean, today they're wrapping today, right? The NC's done, Rob?
It'll be tonight. Kamala, when she accepts the nomination. That'd be crazy. What if she came out and she goes, nah. No, I'm not taking it.
Oh, no, yeah. No, do you want to talk about crazy?
She says that's not going to happen.
Psych. Michelle
just pops up and was like, yo, oh my goodness. You never know. I wouldn't put it past him. But everybody, Tom, Adam, Robbie, thank you guys so much. For all the viewers out there, thank you guys for tuning in. We had over 4,000 of you. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We do our show regularly, Wednesday, Fridays at 6 p.m.
Live. Tomorrow we may or may not have a special episode corresponding with the RFK announcement at 2 p.m. So if you are not liked and you have not subscribed, do that now so you get the notification if we do go live earlier tomorrow.
Yeah, and all the people that were here from the beginning, I love you guys. I know who you are. I know Umberto's in the chat telling them what's up. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Hey, guys, love each other. Take care of each other, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace and love.